From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning on this Tuesday, October 3rd. I'm Augusta McDonald. It's Pink Week all week long right here on Montana This Morning. We're honoring breast cancer survivors and their courageous fight against a devastating disease that affects so many Montana families. The physical and emotional demands of breast cancer treatment are intense, but of course life doesn't stop when you're sick. And a little help meeting those demands can make the journey a little bit brighter. Impact is measured in before and after. Before, they knew what it would mean.
Well, we never planned on receiving them. There's no strings attached on the stuff we do.
After, a good faith gesture to ease another's struggle.
Very overwhelming sometimes. We've all cried at more than one reading them.
Hundreds of thank you letters addressed to Pack the Place in Pink.
A lot of people would talk about, I didn't know I could do this, but you have given me hope.
Years ago, Vicki Carl faced down an uncertain future.
When I was diagnosed, as I'm sure all these women, your first thought is, this can't be really happening.
She now helps others do the same.
I believe that, in most cases, people are real positive and people are optimistic. And I think when you get this pink envelope and there's money in there and kind words, I think it's just like adding a log to their fire.
Getting in return more than she expected.
Some people send a long letter, and I think it kind of might be therapy for them.
A pink hug for some covers the basics.
Where somebody couldn't pay their rent. Most recently, somebody couldn't pay their taxes, and the money helped pay their taxes.
For others, it covers the good things in life.
I think one of my favorite, most touching ones was the thank you note where the gal bought 2 wigs, a puppy, and a guitar. And I know she was stage 4, and I don't know what's ever become of her, but if our money helped give her some happiness and some peace down the stretch, then wonderful.
Hundreds of thank you notes.
I am overwhelmed by your generosity. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Pack the Place in Pink gives financial support to breast cancer patients across Montana. This is last year's Survivors Breakfast. You can find out more about Pack the Place in Pink at packtheplaceinpink.org, which is the recipient of this year's breakfast fundraiser. The group has long been a supporter of Q2's annual Survivors Breakfast. And of course, we've been talking about this. It's coming up this Friday morning. Just a little more info on Pack the Place in Pink. If you've been to a high school volleyball pink night over the past 10 years, it might have been a fundraiser for this group. Their work started in high schools and schools across the state, and it's grown into so much more than that over the years. They've now given over $750,000 to people in every corner of the state fighting that same breast cancer fight. Again, the annual Pink Breakfast is this Friday, October 6th at 6 a.m. and it's right here inside our downtown studios. So many of you have already RSVP'd, but we want even more to sign up. So if you're coming, please fill out the form at ktvq.com/pink. And if you're not a survivor or a caregiver, but you want to help out, you can also check out the website. We're raising money, of course, for this organization, and you can donate there. Again, ktvq.com/pink. It's going to be a really great morning. And Miller, I actually have some of those letters, some of the ladies that Pack the Place in Pink. When I was getting to know them, it's my first year doing the breakfast, they mentioned these thank you letters and how they were kind of unexpected, and that women were, largely women were writing really I was able to get tires on my car. I was able to, pay some medical bills, which is really special. This one saying, it meant the world to me. Women writing, they were in tears or what they used it toward. And some of the sentiments about what they spent the money on, I thought it just showed impact of the organization really well. So I these have been really kind of touching to read. And, this is like everybody's aunt, mom, sister. I think every family knows, when that core person is touched, it goes so far.
Absolutely.
And affects so many other parts of the whole family's life. Yeah. So really great organization. All those ladies will be here Friday as well.
So. It's going to be a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Boy, I cannot wait for Friday. It's our favorite event of the year.
Yeah.
Very inspirational. There are going to be some tears.
But
I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of smiling going on, sharing stories, and just very uplifting morning. Cannot wait. Had my first time last year, your first time this year.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Get ready. It's going to be something else.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that weather. I will give you better weather as we get to Friday morning for that breakfast. And the weekend, it's going to be spectacular. But before we get there, we got a speed bump. That area of low pressure finally bringing in the rain and some cooler temperatures. Yesterday we didn't get out of the 50s, probably not going to do it again today, maybe a little warmer tomorrow, and then another system comes through, a clipper system, going to cool us down and give us a better chance of maybe seeing our first freeze of the season as we wake up on Friday morning. Top gust of 19 miles an hour yesterday. We did have a slight, a little bit of rain yesterday and overnight. Now it's still coming down out there. And we started off the month on a dry note, but with that rain coming in, it's going to try to equal things out. Of course, for the year, we're doing really good pacing ahead because of all the rainfall we had earlier. Just some slick roads this morning. If it's not raining out there, you can feel that moisture in the air. Very humid out there. 48 is the temperature right now. Feels like 43. Winds out the west at about 12 miles an hour. You can see where we do have that rain across the area. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s to start. And there's that pesky area of low pressure that we've been talking about for days, finally making its way through. What does that mean exactly for us? We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about that beautiful weather this weekend coming up too. Augusta.
All right, Miller, thank you so much. And now let's get to some big news for those of us here in Billings that use the Met Bus. A new route launched this week, and it's got an updated schedule and some more frequent stops. So we're joined now by our Haley Monaco with more details on this. So what's new and what can riders look forward to, Haley? And good morning. Thanks.
Good morning, Augusta. I actually rode one of those buses on their new routes from beginning to end, and it was the downtown loop with a new stop for riders. Met Transit says it's a 15-minute ride, so I wanted to see it for myself. Hopping on the downtown bus and pulling away from the transit center, I started my timer to see just how long it would take us to travel the loop of up North 27th Street, down Poly Drive, and back toward downtown, passing by the hospitals. For Joseph Huss, the new changes were wonderful to hear. Huss takes the bus every day to work, and with the old schedule, he was sometimes late.
If your shift starts at 7 o'clock, or that 5A bus, you're going to get you to the Rimrock Mall about 6:30.
With the new schedule offered on weekdays from 5:45 a.m. to 8 p.m., travelers like Huss can expect consistent arrival and departure times to over 450 locations throughout the Billings area. A one-way fare costs $2 for adults.
That's going to help me tremendously. Thank you, guys. Thank you, City of Billings. Thank you.
Previous to this change, our headways were about every hour to hour and 20 minutes or so as far as how long you had to wait between buses.
Met Transit Manager Rusty Logan says the new updates provide riders with easy-to-locate stops and multiple 30-minute routes on weekdays. Back on the 15-minute loop downtown, after just 7 minutes on the bus, we were passing St. Vincent Hospital.
We had given 700 rides today, so we're on track to actually exceed our average daily rides, so things are looking good.
There's also a new app available for riders to track their bus in real time.
We're really just trying to make it as easy as possible to use the transit system.
Close to finishing up the bus ride heading back into downtown, it was a quick ride, but keep in mind the bus did not stop to pick anyone up or drop anyone off. But as the new schedule becomes more normal, I expect more people to be using it. I am back downtown after taking the downtown bus route, and it says it's a 15-minute route, and it took about 12 minutes and 57 seconds. According to the U.S. and World Report, Montana ranks 42nd in the nation for public transportation usage. Augusta, time will tell if these changes are enough to help bump the state up the list.
All right, thank you so much, Haley. And since you had the timer going in your story, we started ours too, and it only took you around 2 minutes to give us all that information. So
Wonderful.
Very efficient work. Well done. We really appreciate you.
You're funny.
And we're going to head to Crow Agency this morning, where residents are swapping stories and memories about their old daycare center. It burned down late Sunday night, and even though it sat abandoned for years, many are sad to see it go like this. Nearly every person living in Crow Agency has ties to this building. People in their 50s on down to kids in high school now went to pre-K there. Nobody was inside when the fire started, and while an official cause hasn't been released, some residents do suspect foul play.
It's a problem across the reservation, vandalism, and these kinds of petty crimes that build up into the loss of something big.
It's part of Crow. It's part of our community here. Everyday thing in another building that's been destroyed.
Four Points Press founder, the indie publication on the Crow Reservation, Luella Bryn, tells us she arrived on scene to take photos shortly after flames broke out. Authorities tell her they saw kids fleeing the scene but weren't sure if they were suspects or just happened to be running from the building. We'll share any updates we get on that. And at the state capitol this week, a new commission created to eventually give authorization to charter schools in Montana held its first meeting. However, with the lawsuit still moving through the courts, the commission was not allowed to take much action. Public education organizations and other advocates sued the state over House Bill 562. This is the bill that created a school choice system here in Montana. They argue these charter schools will essentially be privatized, but under the law, they'll still receive state money, taking funding from and undermining the quality of education for students enrolled in traditional public institutions. In Helena, a judge put a limited injunction on the law prohibiting the commission from authorizing any schools for now. They were, however, allowed to adopt bylaws and start working on policies, which members officially started doing yesterday.
It was the first order of business because having bylaws now, we exist as an agency here in Montana, and now, as we discussed during the meeting, we can go forward and vote in officers and then build a standing committee of the executive committee and then eventually develop other committees for the various activities we're going to have.
5 members are currently sitting on the commission. 2 more were appointed but ended up withdrawing before the first meeting. Their replacements will be seated at the next meeting. And now we head up to the Bighorn Mountains, where Crow tribal traditions are being passed down to a new generation. New this morning, Q2's Alina Howder shows us how a modern-day buffalo hunt is providing a window to the past.
Here in the heart of Crow country in the Bighorn Mountains lies the sacred place, a buffalo pasture where the Crow people have hunted for decades. It was here where Crow youth had the chance to learn a little bit more about their own culture.
It was a trek on rocky roads through dozens of misty miles. But several Crow kids made that journey to get here.
This area, we take it significantly sacred place. We're in the buffalo pasture on a Crow Indian reservation in the Bighorn Mountains. We call this area Bazawachawa, our mountains.
Noel Tulegan says the Crow people are one of the last tribes that still have buffalo on their homeland. The herd was established in the 1940s.
The reason why we're here is so the youth don't forget who they are and where they come from, and a lot of the students have never been here.
These kids are part of a youth organization through Little Bighorn College's extension program meant to keep Crow culture alive.
Oh yeah, over there. I feel like I'm a little bit closer to what the old timers did.
17-year-old Nate Goodluck's grandfather taught him how to hunt at age 5. He shot 2 bison in the past and was hoping to get his 3rd one Sunday.
Once you walk up to them and see their body, it kind of gives you like a reverence almost because of how much energy and how much life has just came out of that, came out of that being.
Low visibility kept the buffalo at bay, so the hunt had to be called off, which meant 17-year-old Vanessa Afraid of Bear didn't have to get her hands dirty.
As Apsalago, women, we aren't really supposed to be shooting the guns or actually taking the life. But we do play a big part in processing the meat and taking out all the guts.
But she feels lucky that she even got to step foot in the sacred land.
Crows, we survived a lot of things, and that we are very resilient and we are able to come back and practice the ways of our ancestors.
For Tulegan, it's come full circle, but his role is now one of teacher.
As a child, I always came here a lot with my grandfather, so I feel it's important. And if I don't know, but sometimes I feel like if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
In Crow Agency, Alina Howder, MTN News.